First impressions can make or break a game. They set the tone, establish the world, and most importantly, they hook the player. In a time when dozens of games are fighting for your attention, a game needs to prove itself immediately. It needs to convince you that it's worth your time. And yet, Avowed doesn't. Personally, I didn't follow this game too closely. I just knew it was supposed to play a lot like Skyrim, and so I didn't pre-order it for early access. Instead, I waited patiently until I could download it on Xbox Game Pass. After I booted it up and played 30 minutes, I just was kinda bored. Avowed's first impression was weak, and today I'm going to break down exactly why. Like most games, Avowed kicks off with a cutscene, but instead of an immersive cinematic sequence, it played out like a slideshow. That's already a bit underwhelming, but what really set off alarm bells was how the game immediately forces a backstory onto your character. You don't get to craft your own origin. Instead, the game tells you that you're taken under the wing of the Emperor because you're godlike, which at this point just seems like a regular human with random mushrooms growing from their head. Now you're Envoy, sent to investigate a mysterious disease called the Dream Scourge. That's all well and good, but this is a role-playing game. I should have some agency in who I am and where I came from. Compare this to Skyrim. The only thing Skyrim tells you about your character is that you were caught crossing the border during a conflict. That's it. The rest? Up to you. You decide why you were there, what your background is, and how you roleplay your character. And unlike Avowed's slideshow intro, Skyrim's opening happens in-game, which keeps it engaging. After the opening cutscene in Avowed, you finally reach character creation, one of the most important aspects of an RPG. And yet, Avowed completely drops the ball. The trailer showcased a variety of races, so I assumed I'd be able to play as them, but no. You're stuck with just two choices, a human or a pointy-eared human, also known as an elf. Each race in Skyrim has unique abilities and racial traits, and NPCs even react to you differently based on your choice, adding depth and replayability.
You picked a bad time to come home to Skyrim, Kinsman. Captain, what should we do? He's not on the list.
Forget the list. He goes to the block.
You with one of the trade caravans, Khajiit? Their kind always seems to find trouble.
Anyways, Avowed's godlike features? They just make you look like a walking fungus, and the worst part? NPCs still acknowledge you as a godlike whether you show these traits or not, meaning you can turn them off and it doesn't matter. It's such a wasted opportunity because the concept could have been amazing, but the execution is just disappointing. After you're done creating your character, you get another cutscene. At least this one doesn't look like it was ripped straight out of Redfall. Visually, it's stunning. You see a weird little critter touch a spore and instantly turn into a zombie, introducing the main threat of the game. But here's the problem, there's no real urgency. You just see a small creature getting infected, and that's it. No dramatic event, no large scale devastation, just poof. Instant zombie which just screams. In contrast, Skyrim's introduction of its main threat, Alduin, the World Eater, is amazing for its time. You see him firsthand as he descends upon Helgen, reducing it to rubble in real time. That moment hits hard because it's happening to you, through gameplay. Avowed's intro, just another cutscene of some random critter getting infected. Then it cuts to you leaving to investigate the Scourge as the envoy of the Emperor. And after 6 weeks at sea, your ship gets attacked. And instead of showing a desperate struggle or any real conflict, the screen just fades to black. No chaos, no tension, just a lazy cut to the next scene. Compare this to Skyrim, which immediately introduces various characters such as Ulfric Stormcloak, who has his mouth tied, showing how scared the Imperials were of this man using a shout, which is one of the main mechanics later in the game. Or General Tullius talking to the Thalmor, which hints at the idea that the Thalmor are the puppet masters of the Imperials. These various aspects of storytelling encourage players to explore and investigate, not just some random critter turning into a zombie. Once the cutscene finally ends in Avowed, you will wake up on an island, just like Baldur's Gate 3 or New World, and meet Garrick, your first NPC companion, and you will start wondering when you ordered a Yappuccino. After spending 10 minutes watching cutscenes, the last thing I want to sit through is meaningless dialogue, and yet Garrick proceeds to talk my ear off. This interaction drags on and should either been condensed to a 10 to 15 second cutscene or delivered while you're actually playing. Nothing you say changes anything, so why waste my time? Skyrim handled this better. Its tutorial dialogue happened as you played. It didn't randomly pause gameplay for inconsequential conversations. Through the dialogue, you find out that the people who attacked your ship were supposed to be friendly, but something's clearly wrong. After even more dialogue, you're finally set free to play. And here I'm going to give Avowed some credit. Movement feels fluid, which is a major improvement over Skyrim. The combat is also responsive, and it's more than just spamming attacks. I even liked how they added a weapon swap so you can easily change between weapon builds, which improves what Skyrim had, where you had to slowly navigate a menu to select another weapon or spell. As you play through the tutorial, you come across a bunch of dead bodies. Garrick assumes they fought each other, and as you progress, you meet Alora, a smuggler who immediately acts hostile regardless if you have mushrooms growing from your face or not.
Someone there? Over here! Help! I'm locked in! About time. Oh gods! What's the matter with your face?
Easy, he's a godlike.
You mean a god gave you that face? Touched your soul and everything?
That's right.
Never seen one of your kind before. I always heard folks say you were blessed. Looks more like a curse to me.
She mentions she has a boat on the island, and she offers to help you escape if you free her, which leads to my next problem, the illusion of choice. On paper, you have a choice. Either free Alora or don't. In reality, it barely matters. If you free her, she helps you fight. If you leave her, she attacks you 5 minutes later. Either way, you still escape the same way, on the same boat. There's no major consequence, no impact on the world, just a slightly different fight scene. If this choice is supposed to matter later, the game does a terrible job at making it feel important. Skyrim during the tutorial gives you a choice between two factions involved in the civil war going on in the country. The Stormcloaks, which are fighting for Skyrim's sovereignty, and the Imperials, which want to maintain the rule of the Empire. While this choice only changes who you escape with, it later branches onto a full civil war questline, making it feel meaningful. Avowed's choice? Just a slightly different fight scene. After you decide what to do with Allura, you fight a few more enemies until finally we reach the big boss fight of the tutorial. And it's just a regular dude with some pus on his face. After seeing the creepy mutation in the cutscene, I expected something horrifying, something that sells the scale of the threat. Instead, I get a slightly infected soldier. And just like before, your choice with Allura barely matters. If she's with you, she helps you in the fight. If not, you just fight her during the encounter with the infected soldier. Either way, you escape the same way, and the game moves on. You end up at Paradise and get introduced to another yapathon of dialogue. So after 30 minutes, what does Avowed leave you with? A weak introduction that forces a backstory on you, a lackluster character creator, dialogue choices that barely matter, and an unimpressive depiction of the threat at hand. Now, does this mean Avowed is a bad game? Not necessarily, but its first impression is incredibly weak. Do you think Avowed gets better later on? Let me know in the comments, because as of right now, I have no interest in continuing playing a story game with a boring story. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos into games that we love, and sometimes the ones that let us down.